feel
Oh,
safer.
apparently we
And
were not live. Oh, God, I'm so
oh,
sorry.
really?
Yeah, somebody just texted me that we're not live. I'm terribly sorry. So,
No
hey,
problem, no
yeah,
problem.
you have to start all over again, I guess. Thank you, Herb, for letting me know it wasn't live yet. I'm still
Thank you,
learning
Herb.
this thing. So, this is Chris, underleveled. He is a 5e
Hello.
player. And we're talking about 5e. And again, we're talking about mostly the changes that Wizards of the Coast has made to 5e and what you as a 5e player feel about it. Now, Wizards of the Coast's stance is that we're doing this to make you feel safer. We're doing this to address issues like racism, sexism, homophobia that supposedly exist in the game. And we're doing this because we don't want people to feel uncomfortable or scared or out of control. Now, as a 5e player, do you feel this is addressing your needs, or is this creating a situation where you're like, this is Disneyland? This isn't a game. Do you want to be safe at the table, or do you want to, have the game play out?
Now, personally, I don't really feel like this was done to make me feel safe. I mean, I picked this up. So, I mean, I don't need to feel safe at the table personally. But I like we were kind of discussing before we actually went live. My theory, yeah, because once I saw your video and I commented on it, I really started to think about how I felt about what they were doing and why they were doing it. And I can't shake this feeling like I was saying before, that it's not necessarily being done to protect people or to make people feel safe. It's being done as a method of giving them a way to make more money.
No, of
Because
course.
yeah, like be it like
any choice that they make at the end of the day is about how they're going to make money or what's going to lose money. Like you said, you feel Witchlight was an experiment. I feel the same about Strixhaven, that they're both perfect settings to test experimental rules and then see how people react. I mean, they're posting all these, surveys constantly. They're monitoring the sales and the responses. So yeah, I totally agree that, as a money-making individual, I would say if this sells, this idea works. And if it doesn't sell, then this idea doesn't work. Now, right now, they're claiming that they're going to go system agnostic. They're dumping, the realms or whatever, and it's just going to be this multiverse. Is that what you think they're trying to do?
No. I think they're saying a lot of things right now just to see what sticks. Personally, I feel we're gonna get more Forgotten Realms. We're gonna get more. I'm still kind of new to the game, so I think there's like Greyhawk's another setting, Dragonlance,
yeah,
or something like that. Like we're gonna get all these settings, and I'm like, my feeling is we're also gonna get a drop on DM's Guild. That's going to provide additional information to how certain races are and interact with each other. It's like we're going to get a supplement on DM's Guild that clarifies all the vagueness that they're trying to put into the game right now.
So with, I think the first we're going to actually see of the new stat blocks are in the book that's coming out this month, the Mordenkainen's Guide to Monsters. And if you saw the errata, basically they've just erased anything, even resembling flavor. You spoke out about the Drow. I mean, the Drow and the Orcs were obviously the very first to feel this because of people claiming Drow and Orcs were racist. Now, I've played for 40 some odd years. I've never met a single live Drow or Orc. And I've never met anybody who came to me and said, that makes me feel discriminated against because it's a portrayal of my, people. So I don't really know anybody who feels that way. And I know that they've cut everything out. And what we're going to see in Mordenkainen's and what they claim going forward is basically just armor class level hit points. And when you encounter this, it might do this. And here's 4 choices. So what do you think about that? Is that fit your theory, or is that like kind of go against your theory? Or you're saying we're going to see the actual real stuff on DM's Guild to pay extra money?
Exactly, and that's actually why I think that what you're saying fits into my theory, actually, is because they're going to keep things vague. They're going to give us just the minimal amount of detail in future books, and the meat of it is going to be through the DM's Guild supplement. Like, did you actually look at the Domain of Delight PDF on DM's Guild?
No, not yet, but now I will.
It gives you like all the information on the Feywild, how to make your little Domain of Delight, how to make an Archfey. It gives you basically all the information we wanted in Wild Beyond the Witchlight about the Feywild. They gave it to you in the PDF. So that's why I think...
How much did that cost you?
I think it was like another like 15, 20 bucks, something like that.
How many pages was it?
It was about 30 something.
Oh, okay. Well, 30 pages for 15 isn't so bad.
Yeah.
You think they're going to do the same thing with Strixhaven? Because, you know, the main complaint about, well, one of the many complaints about Strixhaven is it doesn't really have any flavor to it, and it doesn't really make you feel like you're going to a magic school, and you know, it's just sort of strange and kind of disturbing. So do you think we're going to see the same thing with Strixhaven, that they're going to do a PDF where, oh, here's all the stuff we meant to put in?
I don't think that we're going to see that, because I feel like if we would have gotten it on day one, like we did for the Domain of Delight PDF. Man, Strixhaven. I actually played like the first adventure in that. Didn't really like it that much.
Okay,
so I can kind of see what
as
people
the
are
target
saying.
audience, what do you feel about this? Because this is Strixhaven is the most target audience product they've made. You know, I mean, D&D School, Owl House, D&D Prom. It's receiving so much anger, but from both 5e players and non-5e players. So what do you think about it?
I think the anger is rightfully so, because in an effort to make everyone feel included into the setting, I mean, it's a magic school, but they're saying, you know, you don't even have to be able to use magic to be at the school. So it's like in an effort to be all inclusive, they've essentially alienated everyone from that setting. Like, I didn't feel like I was at a magic school when I was in that first like adventure for Strixhaven. I just felt like I was running around doing a Easter egg hunt or something. Like, there was nothing mystical or magical about it at all.
Okay. So another one of the many things that Wizards of the Coast has tried to change is making people feel safe. They've changed like things like horror. They've even changed spells like hold person, because they don't want to take your agency away. What do you feel about that? Do you, as a 5e player, are you like down with that? Or, you know, do you want to play in a game where there's really no death? Not that there was death in 5e before this, and, you know, where you don't ever lose any agency and where you're never in a situation where you're not scared. Is that the responsibility of Wizards of the Coast, or is that the responsibility of the players and the DM?
I feel like all the responsibility that Wizards of the Coast has is to present us with tools on various ways to play the game. Like, if they can present us with tools how to play the game safe and not have to worry about horror or death or anything like that. But at the same time, I feel like they could also provide us with the tools that we need to play in more traditional games that, like, I'm sure you and I like to play in. Mostly, I mean, it's like God, what's a good example of what I'm trying to portray here? It's like the classes that they were going to introduce in the Strixhaven book.
Mm-hmm.
It's like in an effort to make it feel like it's for everyone, they essentially butchered those classes. And then what did we get? We got like a few boring feats and like 5
Which
spells.
they said they weren't going to do, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I thought when they got rid of the classes, I'm like, oh, okay, they have a plan B. They're going to release a bunch of this stuff. Like, it's a magic school, right? We're going to get a whole bunch of stuff. No.
I have been told it does sort of, like you say, feel like an Easter egg hunt, like a very just sort of railroaded adventure, poor man's Harry Potter.
And it's setting up people to fail, in my opinion. Like, I entered in a lot of campaigns, a lot of sessions, where once people found out that I liked Critical Role and I got in because of Critical Role, they had these preconceptions of, you know, how I was going to play the game, what I was expecting. And to be honest, I can't really blame them, because I've met a lot of people who got into the game because of Critical Role, and they were just like how those people were describing them. but I wasn't prepared at first for how the game can actually be played, like what you can experience in the game. But I mean, for me, I'm down for anything. So I got excited and I tried to learn all the different ways that you can play the game, what to expect. I mean, I was in like in a West Marches campaign. I've been in horror campaigns and stuff like that. Like I love it all.
Great. Love to hear that. You know, so many people feel it like D&D is it, and there's nothing else. Like there's no history. You know, there's not millions of people playing all over the world, that there are, you know, hundreds of other games. It's like, well,
Yep.
there's just D&D and nothing else. It sounds like you accept the fact that, you know, D&D is sort of the comfy middle of the hobby, but there are multiple other things out there that could be better, worse, or exactly the same.
Exactly. And that's why I encourage people, especially if they play 5e, you know, look at past editions at the very least. Like I know for myself, for the most part, it's pretty much just D&D. Like I don't really branch off all that much, but it's like, you know, pick up a 3rd edition book, like the Book of Vile Darkness, even though it's like $100 right now on eBay.
Right.
But you know, pick up these books, learn the history. There's so much more to this game than Critical Role's Wildmount or Exandria. Like there's a lot to learn.
Okay. Yeah, with the 50th edition coming up, it's a good time to sort of embrace the history, both the good and the bad. So you came to the hobby because Critical Role. Now, one of the main problems facing the hobby because of Critical Role is, of course, the Mercer Effect. How do you feel about that? As I said in the beginning, before we realized we weren't live, D&D, the 5th edition, the engine is fine. It's simple, it's easy, it's straightforward. And, you know, advantage and disadvantage, I think is a great mechanic. I think the main issue I've seen is that people expect, even as recently as 2 days ago, expect it to not be 5th edition D&D. And knowing that the Mercer Effect exists, and I mean, I've encountered it. I don't know if you've encountered it or not. How do you feel about that unattainable expectation that Mercer has created, and, you know, that 5th edition isn't anything other than 5th edition?
Well, first, when it comes to Critical Role, I always try to warn people that get into the game because of it, that the best way I can describe the show is it's a lot like the World Wrestling Federation.
It's like
wrestling.
I love you. That's
like
exactly what I say.
Like it's fun, it's entertaining, it's got its drama, but if you go into the game thinking it's going to be like that,
do you think Critical Role is scripted, like the WWE is, or do you think they're playing live?
I don't think it's scripted necessarily, but I do think it's heavily influenced by the audience. Like, for example, during their second campaign, there was a situation where one of the characters got downed, and the enemy just like 180'd and went to someone else. And I'm like, but he's down. Like, and you have 2 attacks. Like, you could kill him right now. It doesn't make sense that he would just 180 and leave. And then I realized, oh, well, his wife's character is the fan favorite and she wants to romance his character. So if Matt kills his character, everyone's going to like lose their minds or whatever.
Yes. Do you think the Critical Role fan base is toxic? I know the episode you're talking about, and I know that when that episode happened, they got hate on. I mean, it was pitchforks and torches that the fan base just totally turned on them. And it's not the first time. And I know that Marissa gets tons and tons of toxic hate still from the so-called Critical Role fan base. So what do you feel as a Critical Role fan? What do you feel about this?
I feel like in anything else, you're always going to have your good fans and you're going to have your bad fans. I'm not necessarily one to let the vocal minority kind of dictate, how I feel about everyone, but I will say it does seem like there's a chip on their shoulder. Like I target audience for Wizards of the Coast, got into the game because of Critical Role. I say one thing bad about Critical Role, and it's like, flame strike on me or
I know,
something.
I
It's
know.
like
I don't know if you've heard my Critical Role story. If you've gone far enough back, you have subbed to my vlog, right? Of course.
yeah.
I'll sub to yours as soon as you send me the link. So I don't. My first experience with Critical Role, I think, sort of set my judgment for it. Now, and I still can remember this clearly. I had heard about it. This was just at the very beginning, the start of the first campaign. So people were talking about it. And I'm at my friendly local game store, that's Cess Games and Anime here in Ventura. And some kid comes up to me and he goes, "What do I think about Critical Role?" And I'm like, "I haven't seen it yet." And he grabs me by the shoulder, by the lapel, and pushes me against the wall and starts yelling in my face, cursing me out. How dare I haven't seen it yet? Now, I watched an episode, and one of my very first vlogs was, okay, I watched it. I get it. I don't see myself in Critical Role, but I don't think I'm the target audience, and that's okay. If the show brings you joy, great. I got death threats.
Jeez, man. Well, I will say on behalf of Critical Role fans, at least on my side of the aisle, I'm sorry.
Great. Okay, we can. So as long as we're on the Critical Role thing, and knowing that Critical Role is fifth edition wouldn't exist without Critical Role. I think it's safe to say that, right? Had they stuck with Pathfinder, or
everything would be different.
Everything was different. It is a perfect moment, whether it was planned or pure accident. The fact that they switched from Pathfinder to 5e when they did and the way they did it, I would say most of 5th edition's popularity and money is because of that. Now they're in the 3rd season. They have their own production company. They have their own publication company. They're cutting down the amount of episodes they're doing. They're releasing product that isn't connected to Wizards of the Coast anymore. We've got the Tal'Dorei Reborn book that just came out. That's not published by Wizards of the Coast. They've published a board game and I think 2 role-playing games. 50th anniversary is coming up. A lot of people think they're going to cut and run, that they're going to go independent. And as somebody who's aware of how the industry works, I agree with that. It makes the most sense for them to make their own game. What do you think? Do you think they're going to stay 5e, or are we going to see a Critical role-playing game?
I think they're going to stick with 5e only because I mean, you just have to take a look at the classes they gave us in Explorer's Guide to Wildmount. They can make a lot of creative classes, but they aren't necessarily good at balancing stuff. So I don't see them trying to make their own system. But what I do think they're going to do is they're going to try to make it their own. Kind of like I've been tuning in and chatting with Tracy and Laura Hickman as they've been developing Sky Raiders of Avarax.
Yes, one of the top 10 most anticipated games of 2022.
Exactly. And I've been digging into all the details they've been giving the community, the emails that they've been sending on like how they're taking 5e things, be it like race or whatever, and they're kind of evolving it. Like instead of race, they're gonna have they have like a culture and like ancestry thing that they're doing.
That's the same thing that Wizards says they're doing, and it's the same thing Pathfinder did. Yeah, that apparently the word race is bad. So
yeah, but I think that's probably where they're gonna go. Is they're gonna try to make it their own, and because I mean, I want to say if they tried doing their show with Pathfinder, at least to me, Pathfinder seems a lot more complex than 5th edition.
I would say we're going to see them just take what they've already done, because I mean, already it's the Critical Role D20 role-playing game. I mean, the only D&D things that are still connected to it are some of the classes and the sheets. I would think that we, since 5e is an open license, that they would just do the same thing Sky Raiders have done and, Mutants and Mastermind have done, and just take the bones and then just change it enough that they don't have to keep sharing money with Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah, that's what like I said, they're gonna make it their own. I don't think they want to try to do their own thing, because it's not a hit on them. I just don't think they would be able to make a good system on their own.
Ooh, M's fighting words.
I mean, it's like, they have their subclasses in, Explorer's Guide to Wildmount. And I mean, I was a Chronergy wizard. I like doing time stuff, but I mean, it's a pretty broken class. It's pretty ridiculous. I just don't see how they'd be able to balance like an entire system if they can't balance, their classes,
Mm-hmm. So balance is important.
Yeah, and that's not a hit on them. They should play to their strengths. I think taking things from 5th edition and making it their own would probably be the smarter business move on their part.
So 5th edition adjacent, but not official 5th edition product, but still using the engine.
Yeah.
Just not having the Wizards of the Coast stamp on it.
Yeah, and they'll have their little crossovers still, because I doubt that they did Explorer's Guide to Wildmount and Wizards of the Coast didn't make them sign a contract to do
they have one, at least one more coming out, maybe 2.
Yeah, they got that adventure coming out in March and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay, so what do you think Wizards of the Coast is going to do for her 50th anniversary? Some people are saying 6th edition. Some people are saying we're just going to see cut and chopped up, paste, reprinted of the original 3 with all the new changes post Tasha.
I don't think it'll be a 6th edition. I think it's just going to be Dungeons and Dragons. I think they're going to drop the whole editions thing.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah.
And they're just going to make the game and allow themselves to do little Tasha's Cauldron of Everything like changes, but not tie themselves down to, having people expect like a new edition every like 6 years or whatever. They're just basically just going to keep having expansions and whatnot. People will be able to pick and choose, since it's all backwards compatible. People are going to be able to pick and choose what they do.
That's the first I've heard of that theory. So take away the edition name and just, This is D&D going forward. These are the core. Then everything else is optional Legos. Kind of like GURPS or whatever,
And that's exactly why all of their books are going to be vague enough to where people can do whatever they want with it. And then for the more hardcore fans like us, we're going to have those DM Guild supplements that are going to allow us to really enrich our experience while we're playing. So that's what I think.
So you want the Drow to stay evil?
I mean, personally, I don't mind either way, because I know when I play, we're going to make them like actually interesting.
Yeah.
I think it was a huge mistake. Like all the stuff they're doing with the Drow and, there's these clans of Drow that are good. It's like, you have a goddess that's dedicated to redeeming the Drow, and you're just going to completely ignore her.
Yeah. A lot of the complaints about the lore dump and just now the cut and paste is that, in an attempt to make things more individual, they're actually making things more cookie cutter. And an attempt to be less racist, they're actually being more racist because they're taking the individuality away. And, when everybody's the same, the lore, I think, is there to it's like it's like a guideline. Most people choose to either have it or ignore it, but the lore is still there. It's like, the history is still there. And then by reading that, I can go, well, I've got a general idea what these guys do, but it doesn't fit my world because, I don't have an Underdark in my world or whatever. So you obviously think that they should keep the lore, maybe, get rid of some of the multiple weirdness from multiple editions and just say, here's the lore, but you don't have to follow it.
That's what I think. And I think they're going to do that again through DM's Guild.
Well, DM's Guild probably makes them more money because, you have to pay for printing it out, and not having to pay for something on paper, especially with a paper shortage, is going to save them tons. So yeah, I think PDFs, more PDFs and less actual books. I mean, what's it going to be? I think the Mordekainen is looking at almost 300 pages.
Yep, that's going to be, which, I'm still excited for everything. I don't want people to think, just because I have negative things to say, I'm not excited about anything. But I want to say, I'm not going to guarantee it because, I don't like guaranteeing stuff. But I bet you anything, with the new Dragonlance book coming out this year, it's going to come along with probably a campaign setting. It's going to come out with some kind of supplement for it. It's going to be vague, just like everything else. And I bet you anything, they're going to drop something on DM's Guild. It's going to be some, Fizban's Wondrous Knowledge or whatever. And it's going to give us all the information on, this is how orcs in this world act. This is how drow act and all that. I feel like we're going to see, I don't think they're taking away anything from us. They're just cutting it and they're going to paste it into DM's Guild.
That is a very refreshing take on it. And you're the first person I've heard who actually has this idea. And this is all based upon Domains of Delight.
Yeah. And I will say, if they're not thinking of doing this, then they do it because, I think it'd make them a lot of money. 10% per purchase was all I'm asking for.
No. I mean, if I was them, now that you say it, I would probably do the same thing. I would give the voting public, which seems to be mostly Twitter, because now it feels like you're not their audience. It's the other people who are their audience. The people who aren't even playing, but are saying these things like, brain-eating squid monsters are problematic. And we don't want, but 5e players are saying, no, we don't care if we could change them on our own. But I like what you're thinking, because then it says, okay, here's the safe gray goop yogurt version that we're going to charge you $50 to $100 for. But then here's the secret, actual cool version.
Yep.
That we're going to charge you another $15 for.
All that extra money, they don't have to worry about printing because it's all in PDF form. They would make a lot of money doing that. And another reason why I think they're doing it is because they're working closely with Larian Studios on Baldur's Gate 3. And Mind Flayers are traditional there. Yeah. Drow are traditional there. If they really wanted to enforce what they're saying that they're going to start enforcing from now on, you would think that they would be different in that game because of how closely they're working with it on it.
So something Wizards of the Coast said as part of the data dump, which kind of upset me, was, how they judge people as being human or humanity. And they seem to have set this thing where if you don't follow these certain moral guidelines, you don't qualify as being human. Now, to me, that sounds racist. But, for a company who says that they're trying to get rid of the racism in the hobby, saying something like, we can tell you whether you're human or not. I don't know. What does that feel like to you as a 5e, as the target audience?
As the target audience, it kind of flies over my head a bit. It's like, you see it a lot with video game studios as well, when they talk about monetization and whatnot. They're saying one thing, but their actions are going to say something completely different. And in this case, it's like the Domain of Delight, Baldur's Gate 3. There's all these examples of Wizards sticking to what has traditionally always been there. So, they can say what they want, but I can kind of see where they're where they're going with this, and I think it's going to be a little shocking to a lot of people once they start releasing supplements that cater a bit more towards, people like me and you.
So here's Herb. Thank you, Herb, for letting us know we weren't online.
Thank you, Herb.
So here's, if the cash theory is true, is it actually even worse? It's saying, instead of just saying go away haters but leave your money, it's saying go away haters but leave your money plus a little extra for the real thing.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, the business greedy side of me thinks it'd be brilliant if they did the DM's Guild thing, but
Oh, me too.
I don't think it's like the nice thing to do, but I mean, they're here to make money. That's why I don't think it's beneficial to them financially to get rid of all this stuff and pretend like it never existed. Like they're going to do something with it. I mean, or again, they would have changed Baldur's Gate 3. They have comics for Baldur's Gate 3, and I mean, Mind Flayers are still Mind Flayers, cultists are still cultists. I mean, they're saying all these things, but they're enforcing it enough for the vocal minority to think that that's what they're doing.
So what do you think here's a question from Rasputin. What do you think will be the secret? Will it be Dark Sun? Because if there's a problematic D&D setting, it's Dark Sun. It's got cannibalistic halflings and slavery.
Okay, well, I was just educated. I'm still new, so Dark Sun, I had no idea what that was.
Dark Sun was a beloved but short-lived post-apocalyptic fantasy that they did. It's completely different. It's a desert planet. There's no water. It's more think Dune than D&D. And then there's like, halflings or cannibals. There's slavery. There's weird insect races. It's very much John Carter Mars.
That sounds awesome. I mean, I even had fun playing. I was in a campaign where I played a drow, and the DM was like, this is how it's going to be being a drow. I play it like how they actually are. I had a blast playing as that character and overcoming the adversaries, like all the racism and stuff that I experienced in the game. Like I don't know. I think that stuff is kind of fun. Character development.
Character development in D&D. Gasp! No.
I know, right?
So you don't feel the Mercer problem is attainable and probably something just needs to go away, and you don't feel that they're actually targeting you, the target audience, anymore. What do you feel about the rest of the gaming universe? What, as Rasputin is asking you, what do you feel about the OSR? Or as I like to call it, every other game that isn't 5e.
To be honest, I don't actually have much interest in playing anything else, mostly because I'm like, I have a life and stuff too. So like, I learned D&D 5e. I'm sticking with that at least for now. But
you're not saying that, I mean, what if you want to run, someday you're like, I want to run Star Wars. I can't do that in 5e. Is there a Star Wars game? And then you find out, oh, there is a Star Wars game.
See, that would be cool. I know there's like Star Wars 5e, and I like the game Destiny, well, before it turned into crap. And I know there's D and Destiny, so there's a lot of people making different variations of 5th edition. But I know eventually I want to learn Pathfinder to kind of see what the other side of the coin is like.
Yeah, I mean, Pathfinder when it started was great. It was like. Mm-hmm. On paper, it was the next step in the evolution. All the situation that happened to get it to where it was is completely a different point, but just the math was there. But then they just sort of lost their minds.
just a little bit.
They were just like, crunch, let's have more.
Yeah, and
how far can we push this?
And to answer Rasputin, it is the mechanics of 5e, but the simplicity of the mechanics that I like so much.
Oh yeah, like I said, the mechanics are perfectly fine. I love the mechanics,
and that's why I warn people with the whole. I know we talked about the Mercer Effect a little bit. Other than comparing it to professional wrestling, I also try to tell people that if you go into playing D&D thinking it's going to be like Critical Role, the first time you have a slaver in a game hit you, you're gonna like poop yourself or something. Like there's so much more to this game, and not every DM is gonna pull their punches.
Yeah,
like Matt does. People need to be prepared because I mean I was used to cookie cutter D&D before I got into the West Marches campaign that I was in, and yeah, you gotta be prepared. The game can be a lot more brutal and a lot more dark than
yeah.
what that
Well,
show allows it to
the
be.
whole idea of West Marches is way more older school. So yeah, speaking of the OSR and speaking as a 5e player, I'm sure you're aware that there is a lot of anger
Mm-hmm.
on both sides, and a lot of anger, especially on my side. Like 2 hour long, extremely profanity filled, life threatening rants of anger. I've been attacked verbally and threatened verbally because of being a member of the older game. I've been physically assaulted. A lot of my other friends in the OSR are people who play other games, people who even if it's as simple as I accept their other games, but I prefer 5e. But I know that Call of Cthulhu is the #2 role-playing game in the entire world, and that's cool. It's just I don't want to play it. I'm happy with 5e.
I want to play that. I've always wanted to learn Call of Cthulhu. I just
No,
can't
it's
find
not
a
D&D.
group.
It's for one thing, it's a percentile system. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people consider it the best role-playing game ever made, because the system is so adaptable. So what do you feel about this anger? And I mean, obviously, it existed before 5e. It goes, the we can trace it back to comic books and trying to appease people and just other things, but
Oh
that
god,
anger
comic
seems to
books.
have just sort of boiled over in 5e on both sides. So as somebody on the other side,
I
what do you feel about it? Have you been a victim of it?
um I've been a victim to an extent, but on both sides. Like whenever I join a campaign or join a one shot and people find out, oh, this guy likes Critical Role, sometimes, not all the time, it's a very small percentage of the time, they'll treat me like I'm ignorant and that I don't know how to play the game. And then once I actually start playing, then they realize, oh, okay, like, he actually took the time to like really learn how to play the game. And on the other side, I say one bad thing about Critical Role or, some of the theories I gave you on where Wizards of the Coast is going in the future.
I like the
And,
series.
yeah, and I get hate for that. So it's kind of like sometimes no matter what I do, I got, one side or
Yeah,
the other hating me.
yeah. If you don't, like, I've had the same thing. If you don't choose a side and you try and stay, like, I can see every angle. Well, that even makes more people angry because they want you on your thing. And I assure you that if some of the trolls are watching this, you're going to get some hate on your channel now. So, but hate clicks are still clicks.
Exactly. And I encourage people too. I'm sure you and I have different opinions on a lot of things, but we're sitting down having a civil conversation, both of us being respectful, both of us having a good time talking.
Yeah.
Just, remember, like, at the end of the day, we all love Dungeons and Dragons. We can have good conversations. Don't threaten, OG GM. Don't threaten me. Don't threaten anyone. Just, have fun.
Have a debate, share ideas. Maybe, I mean, you've told me a couple things I never even thought of. So that opens my mind. I love hearing from a 5e fan what you do and do not like about 5e and where you want 5e to go.
Exactly, because as the old saying goes, history has a way of repeating itself. So nobody should hate you or any of the older players, because I guarantee you, in one way or another, history in D&D is going to come back around, whether people like it or not.
Oh yeah, we're not going to
And
be as cool. We're not going to be cool for much longer. Yeah, this 3 years of awesomeness, that's that's a fluke.
yeah, exactly. But just have fun. People just
Yeah,
need
it's a
to.
game, and I think a lot of people have forgotten that at the end of the day, it's a silly game about elves with sticks. You know,
Yep.
As long as you're enjoying the game, I don't care. If fifth edition brings you joy, great. If watching Critical Role brings you joy, great. If watching Critical Role has you start attacking people and start saying things like, you know, Critical Role was my therapy and it saved my life, and you know, you're a racist or whatever, then that's where it starts. You know, and then these attacks that were made on the OSR by Critical Role and by the Twitter fans and by the Genie Ds, that kind of just, you know, went from edition wars to like a civil cultural war. But at the end of the day, it's a game.
Exactly. It's not like they're trying to bring in like I was gonna make a Marvel joke, but
Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's not like they're trying to bring in like Safe Space and Snowflake. I think those are some heroes.
Oh yeah. I thought that crashed and burned really quick.
Oh man, I mean, I'm also probably their target audience, and I saw that, and I'm like, man, come on.
Safe Space and Snowflake.
Oh geez, but I mean, and what I learned from you is I really want them to bring back Dark Sun now. That sounds awesome.
I don't think their current political environment would allow it, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people who would love to see it, and it would. I mean, it would be a huge screw you on their part if they did bring it back. So the future of Wizards of the Coast. We know there's a new CEO who came up from Wizards of the Coast and is now in charge of Hasbro, and which, you know, that means he now has access to all the Hasbro lines: Power Rangers, Transformers, Barbie, Bakugan. Do you think the Wizards of the Coast mindset is going to now affect the rest of the thing? Are we going to see politically correct, culturally safe Transformers? Are they going to? We know there's a G.I. Joe, Transformers, and Power Rangers game coming out, being done by a different company. Are they going to? You know, what are they going to do? What do you think? Predict the future for me?
Predict the future. I think they're gonna do almost exactly what they're doing with D&D. They're going to present a lot of their choices and business decisions like they're catering to certain people, just to turn around and do exactly what, like, you know, people like you and me might want them to do, just to make an extra book. That's all I think they're doing in general. Like, be it their D&D stuff and everything else they're doing, they're making it seem like they're catering to the vocal minority. Then they're just gonna find a way to make money on the old stuff, and they're gonna flip it and do that. But they're gonna be low key about it, just like the Domain of Delight. They didn't promote it, they didn't announce it. They let the YouTubers do that. Mm-hmm. That's why a lot of people didn't even like know about it.
Yeah. Okay. So Power Rangers, Transformers, G.I. Joe probably will stay with the other company, you think, or are they going to bring it back to now that there's a new CEO? We're going to see the Wizards of the Coast Barbie.
Yeah, man, we're going to see D&D inspired Barbies. Hey, but you know that actually, I mean, if I ever had
I'm surprised they haven't yet.
I wouldn't mind buying her like a sorcerer Barbie or something like that. Wait till we get the Barbie supplement for 5e. That's
well, I mean, we know
really take off.
Right now, we know that the Power Rangers, Transformers, G.I. Joe, and My Little Pony are being done by Renegade Press, the people who brought us Kids on Bikes, and it's a completely different system. So, I mean, we might see a Barbie D20, but I don't know if it'll be through Renegade or through Hasbro. I think if they're smart, they would keep those three titles where they are so they can do the more risky thing. Because you can do risky stuff with G.I. Joe. People died in G.I. Joe, you know. People die in Transformers. People die in the comic all the time, you know.
I wouldn't mind having that Barbie D20. I'd use that when I'm like killing players. When I need the killing blow, just roll that D20.
Yes, but that was from a different company, and now they have recalled the IP Rasputin, and Renegade's doing the My Little Pony role-playing game. G.I. Joe's announced, I think, for next month, $55, $75 for the box set. Then we will have Power Rangers and then Transformers, and that'll probably be it for this year. And then next year we'll have the My Little Pony role-playing game if they stick with Renegade. I'm really excited about Essence D20. I can't wait to run a Power Ranger game because I'm a huge Sentai fan.
I've only seen the original like run of like the White Ranger, Green Ranger. Like I wouldn't that I would learn. I would learn how to play a Power Ranger.
They're doing the Rita stuff. So
See,
first season, second season, third season.
The only good seasons.
Yeah, it's just gonna be so Power Rangers, Thunder. What was the second one? Thunder Rangers, and then I guess was Turbo Rangers third. I don't remember. So yeah, they're just doing the Rita stuff, and so everything up to the death of Zordon, I think they're gonna do. Though I don't know if they'll do Power Rangers in space, considering how dark Power Rangers in space was. Best season ever.
That would be pretty. That would be pretty cool to see.
Yeah. Oh God, yes. So tell us about your channel. You have a channel, right? Called Underleveled. What do you do? What do you talk about?
Yeah, Underleveled. Right now, I'm primarily focused on just Dungeons and Dragons related stuff. I also got my Critical Role stuff that I do. I just get like little highlights of their episodes and post them up because
you do that. Yeah.
It's great for views. But I do a lot of other, like I'm covering Sky Raiders Vabrax. I have a little series on. I'm trying to make an Archfey Warlock patron, so I got a little series on that going on. And I do some playthroughs. Like I just got done doing a playthrough of Solista, Crown of the Magister. I'm gonna be jumping into Baldur's Gate 3
Do you have a link
soon.
that we can throw up?
Yeah, let me grab that.
You can send it to me in the private chat if you want.
I don't have a fancy link yet.
Hey man, whatever. We want to send people, to your channel, man, and I love your fresh takes.
Yeah, I kind of figured when I told some of my buddies that I was going to jump on and do this with you, I was like, yeah, I think he's going to be a little surprised on how much we actually agree on stuff, even though I'm a 5e player and I'm the target audience.
But yeah, I mean, are you? I don't know if you are the target audience. You might be the target audience for the secret stuff, like you said, but
I'm the target audience.
The amount of 5e players that are saying, what? Are you still the target audience? Who is the target audience? Is it Twitter? It's not me.
Yeah, I'm not sure at this point, but on paper, I think would be the best way to say it. On paper, I am their target audience, but like I said, DM's Guild, it's gonna pop off. Like I think people are gonna be surprised on the stuff that they start releasing on there. And I don't have any like insider information or anything like that. This is just me, theory crafting.
Yeah, I love your theory crafting, sir. So do we have a link?
Oh yeah, I sent it. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, so what 5e adventures have you done so far? Give me a review of some of the stuff you've done. So you started with the basic book.
Oh,
so have you done Lost Mines? Have you done any of the modules?
I actually think it's all been homebrew. I think that's one of the reasons why I can kind of see a bit more eye to eye with you, because I look at what they're doing with their adventures. Like Wild Beyond the Witchlight, I just don't have any interest in that. Like their whole Laffy Taffy, wild, whimsical. It just doesn't interest me. And yeah, I've been exposed to a lot of darker homebrew
awesome.
campaign settings. So that's kind of what I'm still up for fun, but
is there any classic D&D adventure you'd love to go through? I mean, like the Big Four. Or
I would love to play Descent into Avernus because it's the prequel to Baldur's Gate 3.
Mm-hmm.
and I forgot what it's called. They have one that takes place in the Underdark.
I think it's just called Out of the Underdark, isn't it? Or Out of the Dark? The one where you
I think
escape
it's
from
like,
the Underdark?
yeah, that one and Curse of Strahd.
Curse of Strahd. So all new stuff.
Yeah, I don't know much about the older stuff.
The big four, Tomb of Horrors, White Plume Mountain.
No, I don't know.
The Giants. Well, you're for you against the Giants would be Storm King's Thunder. That's just, you know, a direct homage to Against the Giants. And of course, Ravenloft is, you know, been around since second edition.
Yeah.
So regarding the separation of church and state and this sort of, you know, 5e players versus OSR players, do you want to see that end? Because I would love to go an entire week without hearing an angry rant about, you know, 5e.
I mean,
or somebody threatening somebody else's life or threatening my life, you know.
The little troll inside of me is like a little entertained by it, but I would love to see just everyone get over it, find common ground, like, and then just sit down and play it. I would love to see a game where it's like old school players like you and like 5e players, and we all sit down and have like one big session or something like that. Like, I just think there's so much to love about this game that people are missing out on because of the hate.
Mm-hmm. So you don't feel there's any one right way to play, or like, you know, you have to do it Gygax's way or anything else like that. You just play whatever way you want to play, as long as you're having fun and leave other people alone.
Exactly. And if one game that's all dark and brooding isn't your style, that's fine. I mean, you don't have to, you know, threaten the DM about it. Just go find like a different, more calm and tame game for you to play. There's no right way. There's no wrong way. There's plenty of campaign settings out there for everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Is there anything else you want to say before we go?
Yeah, one thing, if there are any, you know, haters or trolls or 5e Critical Role loyalists out there or anything, just stop with the hate. Don't send any hate towards OGGM. Don't send any hate towards me. Just, you know, learn more about the game, have fun, branch off, go to different settings, join a West Marches campaign or something. Just, there's a lot more to this game than Critical Role, and you should experience all of it.
Okay, so let's write down your predictions and see if they come true. So you are predicting that we will see more safe product on the shelves, but then secret upgrades on DM's Guild.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah.
Okay. Does anybody else want to join and have anything to say before we let Chris go? I will send out the link one more time. We'll give you 5 minutes. Now remember, you can't come on and be yelling at this guy because he came on here on my channel and I'm not paying him.
Oh, you're not?
Oh, wait, did you think I was paying you? I'm sending people to your team.
$5 a minute, right?
Yeah. And oh, look, there he is. Speaking of a OSR and the first player, Rasputin, welcome. Join us. One of my favorite people to talk to.
Hey, buddy.
Legend of the Lamentations of the Flame Princess fan. I am so jealous you're getting to interview these people. You need to share your secrets with me. All right, so you got some stuff you want to talk about?
Well, actually, I was curious. Yeah. So I big fan of OG. I really liked what you had to say. Underleveled, it was good.
Thank you.
You know, I started as 5th edition, and then I translated into Lamentations, and it's nice to see someone's take, that very similar kind of take as what I have, because I'm not a Critical Role fan whatsoever. I'm not, you know, but it's nice to see other people play homebrew worlds.
Yeah.
The hardest thing for me, and you said something really key, is like, I wish people would get together and have this common ground, right? Yeah. And we can still have that in because that's how it's kind of set up to be. But when I think my biggest gripe with 5e right now it's just how they're trimming up all the stuff, right? All the good stuff that made D&D, like the lore wise and stuff. And it's hard to, I would love for people to sit down around the table, as you said earlier, to kind of, it's all the same game. We're still playing the same game. But when a company says, oh, we got to get rid of X, Y, and Z, that's what I have the issue with. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes 100% sense.
But then you've got Chris's theory that we're going to see, it back on DM's Guild, which is the first time I've heard this, but I like it.
Yeah, that was interesting. That was kind of a breath of fresh air, shall we say.
Yeah, I think they're going to go the way that video games went. Like when the Xbox 360 first came out.
Hello, total stranger. Hi, Herb. How are you?
Hi.
Hey, OGGM. Rasputin.
Thanks for joining us, man. I have no idea who you are, but welcome.
Oh, you've talked to me on Legion of Myth board.
Okay.
Another Legion of Myth.
Another LOM.
Yeah, another one.
If you're looking for an angry rant, you need to go over to Max's channel.
I said I was here. I was enjoying it not being a rant. I haven't listened to Max's rants in a while.
All right, so chime in on the 5e future of...
Actually, Rasputin kind of beat me to it a little bit, but I wanted to ask, do you think they're going to try, if they try your theory about moving all the more expanded stuff to DM's Guild, are they going to try to market that as the for real world builders? Because one thing WOTC seems to have gotten away with in 4th and 5th edition is don't do it yourself. Buy our book. Very few rules-oriented supplements except for player splat stuff, which 4E was just tons of player splat stuff. And I say, as somebody who's one of the few of the proud, that people will stand up and say, I ran 4E for over 5 years and only quit when one of my players died. So I like 4E, but
I love 4E. I know that's going to get me killed.
Yeah. Oh, you're going to get murdered. I'm the one who got Max to put the 4E section over on Legion of Myth. So
you're going to get canceled.
I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. 4E was brilliant. The problem was just how they went about putting it out. Everything that happened before and during, and the fact that they called it 4th edition D&D, and they shouldn't have. They should have called it the Eberron D&D role-playing game for a year.
Yeah,
and then the end of the year, they should have said, okay, what do you think of this system? Should it be the next D&D?
Yeah, I still don't think of it as D&D, and actually deciding not to call it D&D and seeing what it was is what let me actually really get into it and really enjoy it, because I got rid of expectations I was bringing to the game.
Yeah,
but so what do you think? You think they're gonna try to be DM's Guild is for the world builder, for the advanced player, to try to get back some of the older people who are used to home brewing and rolling?
I think that's what they're gonna do. Like I was alluding to before, like when the Xbox 360 first came out, that's when people started to see a real push for monetization in video games. And I think there's a lot that Wizards is learning from that method of gradual implementation of like different monetization schemes. And I think one way of doing that is saying,
thanks.
the world builders, the home brewers, the class builders, your home is DM's Guild, because that's essentially what they did with the Domain of Delight PDF. They didn't market it, they didn't promote it or anything, but who picked it up? The world builders, the home brewers.
I didn't even know it existed. And I, as much as I've said, I'm not buying WOTC product again. I may, although $15 for 30 pages is a little steep, but I may go pick it up. That's what I wanted. What's that?
That's 1980s money. $15 for an entire game. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What happened to getting a box game that
come to think of it, it's not the first time they've done it. There's a whole second campaign for Rime of the Frost Maiden that's only available on DM's Guild.
I have no idea that existed.
So. Yeah, I've only been seeing it because I've been seeing people post it for Game Ogre here in Camarillo.
Do you remember there was a PDF expansion for Xanathars, but I never picked it up?
I do remember.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be in the book that's coming out. What is it, next week?
Oh, is
It's like in a week or two.
chopped up Xanathars coming out?
The box set with the new art with Scott
Oh.
Xanathars, Tasha's, and Mordekainen's, I think, is next week.
I think the 25th, I believe.
Yeah, the art's getting a whole bunch of what was it? What the guy said? The missile of pandering. Yeah, that art is just awful.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, and I messed up the Domain of Delight PDF. The proceeds go to Extra Life, and it's $8 on DM's Guild.
Oh, even more so.
I don't know why I thought it was more expensive. I just
that's-
assume Wizards
yeah,
of the Coast is expensive.
Sub $10. I'll definitely pick that up because I love the Feywild. I thought that was one of the most brilliant things 4th edition added.
Yeah,
4th edition planes are the best planes in any
and
edition, and I'm probably going to get hammered for that. But
it's okay.
not from here.
I'll go down with you, Herb. I'll go down with you, man. I loved 4th edition for the few times I played it. I loved. I wish there wasn't so much hate associated with it because on paper it's a great system.
Actually, it's starting to get some love back. I think we.
Yeah,
have
I'm hearing that. Yeah.
Matt Koval's doing like a 4th edition campaign, and honestly, I'm a fan of his. I'll watch it and I'll listen to it. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Some of the hacked stuff for 4E was really good. I mean, there's a 4E post-apocalypse game that's brilliant.
There's a retro clone in a semi-state on GitHub, and of course you can buy everything on DM's Guild, except it's got the racist, sexist, homophobic warning label because they applied it to everything. I was like, even 4E guys.
I heard they took that away. That it's only on Oriental now.
Oh, I haven't. No, I looked at something the other day. Something just regular old school D&D, and I still saw it because I wanted to get the text of it to talk to somebody. Let's see.
That dog or cat Rasputin?
It's my dog, and I had to take him to the vet today because he has like an eye issue, so that's why he has the cone of shame. And I'm just trying to tell him, just like, lay down, buddy. It's cool. Just
chill out.
You gotta wear the cone of shame.
Yeah, it's he looks miserable, and it's terrible.
You see, he heard people talking about 4th edition, and he just had to jump in on that.
You know, his cup of tea is any D&D product, except for the current way of things. And like I've said it before, like I started as a 5e player. I think 5e core, like the player's handbook, solid.
Yeah,
solid. Love it. Actually,
advantage, disadvantage, brilliant.
Oh yeah. I take advantage of disadvantage, and I sometimes apply it to my Lamentations games just because it's a quick, easy way of doing it instead of going, okay, well that's going to be out of my
I've used it in Axe for the.
Yeah, I use it in lots of games now. It's such a simple mechanic. You're like, how come nobody ever thought of this before?
All right.
Now,
I'm sure somebody has.
I'm looking at Book of Challenges, Dungeon Room Puzzles and Traps from 3E on DM's Guild, and it still has the warning label.
And that's dated today?
That's right now. I just loaded the page.
Oh, okay. So I guess that wasn't true. Somebody had said that they had removed it from everything except OA.
I wonder if it's not in the PDFs for everything, but it is on the sale page.
I'll have to take a look once we get offline. We can do a deep dive. All right. So last 5 seconds before we get everybody to shill their channel. What's the future of the hobby? Rasputin and I have already had a talk about this. So what do we think? Where do we see with the 50th edition coming up? And is there a contender to the throne?
No, because we need D&D to get out of the fad phase and for somebody to do something interesting. That's where we got Vampire about 4 years after the 80s fad broke, and that's where we got Pathfinder when the 3E fad peaked. Well, when Wizards shot the 3E fad in the head. Hello, George. You're on TV. Well, you're on YouTube.
The world can see.
If I had a good camera, you'd see more of my cat. Hey, you want to be on TV? No.
No, he wants Dad's dinner.
So you don't think there's a contender to the throne? No, I mean,
there probably is, but I don't know what it is yet.
Obviously Call of Cthulhu, but
or Thirsty. Well, no, Cthulhu's been around. It has to be something. To be honest, Thirsty Sword Lesbians would probably fit the pattern best of what I'm seeing out there.
It is definitely, whether intentional or not, hitting all the buttons.
I have no interest in it. There's something I saw the other day. at the game store, and I don't remember what it was, but I think it's going to be something out of the Apocalypse World offshoot. Thirsty Sword Lesbians kind of crowd will be the next big fag game in the hobby, and it will be something. It'll be like Vampire. It will bring in a different set of players, and not the Twitter weirdos we're getting now for a different set of players, but like all the goths and punks that came in with
the people who wouldn't
with Vampire.
Yeah, Vampire
Right.
did bring in a lot of people who might not have. The same. I mean, same with Dragonlance did, and now Critical Role does. It's brought people in who might not have otherwise come. So, knowing that the most anticipated tabletop games for 2022 are Blade Runner and Avatar and the sequel to Wander Home, are any of those going to be the contender?
Licensed games always fail to bring people in the hobby because it's a misunderstanding of how you bring people in. If I'm a Blade Runner fan and I play a Blade Runner RPG and have a positive experience, I had a positive Blade Runner experience, and that continues my Blade Runner fandom. Whereas back in the 70s, when you and I came in, OG, we were playing Hex and Shit war games. We were gamers, and we played a new kind of game and had a game experience. So we continued with gaming, not with Blade Runner or with Star Trek. I mean, I have every Star Trek game that's been done because I was a Star Trek fan, but I was also a gamer already.
Yeah.
You don't get in a lot of people. You get some. I'm not going to say you get zero, but the right license will bring in the mass people of the hobby. No, it will bring into people that are into that license, and most will go away after they're done playing a game.
Interesting. Rasputin, what do you see as the contender to the throne, if anything?
I mean, here's what I would like to see. I would like to see Troika. I think that's a fucking cool system, man. Sorry for cursing, OG. That's a really
one person.
Yeah, that's my one. That's my one. I think that's a really cool system. It allows for it's kind of chaotic, but it's super creative, and there's not like a set world. But if we were going to talk about like a licensed product, I mean, I would love to see a game outside of the D20 system kind of take precedence, because there's so many other games out there. So, in that vein, like, I don't know if that Avatar game is going to be a D20 system or if
it's Powered by the Apocalypse.
Powered by the Apocalypse. Okay, so like I'm hoping something like that comes into prominence, so we can kind of get away from the D20, because there's so many.
Made $9.6 million on Kickstarter, so I'm hoping it brings more attention to Powered by the Apocalypse. I've always felt that Powered by the Apocalypse could have been the next GURPS. It was just missing something. It could have been the next paradigm shift.
It is one of the best games I've seen for new game masters.
Yeah.
In general. And although I don't need the sex moves in the actual PBA.
Thankfully, I think the sex moves are only in like 2 of the games.
Yeah, Dungeon World doesn't have them. What's the Monster Hunter one? Monster of the Week does not.
Monster of the Week.
I love Monster of the Week.
Yeah. I've always wanted to play that.
The Buffy one, yeah.
Buffy Supernatural. It's a lot more variable than that. You could do.
Yeah, but Monster Hearts has the sex rules, and Apocalypse rules has the sex moves. I don't think any of the other games do.
I can see it in Monster Hearts more than I can see it in the original Apocalypse World. Actually,
Chris, you don't know what we're talking about. So Chris is like, "What?"
Sex all
right. So yeah. All right. So I mean, most of it's free, so you should check it out. It's Powered by the Apocalypse. It's the 2d6 system, and there are rules in it where you can engage in certain naughty actions to give your character powers, which kind of makes sense in like a vampire type game.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense.
Herb, do you have a channel you want to?
I'll pimp my Substack. No more than 51 bad stories. Watching me learn to write short stories, 1 a week.
Cool. Do you have a link for that?
Yes, I do. I can put it in the private chat here. It's based on the idea Ray Bradbury said, write a short story a week for a year, because no one can write 52 bad stories in a row. So I figure, I promise you, no more than 51 bad stories.
Oh, I love it. I should try that.
Guaranteed one good one.
Yeah,
at least one.
And it might be the 52nd, so you may have to be with me the whole year. But the first story went up this past Monday, and the second one will go up this coming Monday, and I'm already writing the third. So.
Thank you, Herb. Thank you. And now, Rasputin, I know you've got a channel that is interviewing actually important people besides me. So show your channel.
So I do Raw Rasputin, and I basically talk tabletops. I had just recently had an interview with James Raggy from Lamentations of the Flame Princess. That was a cool interview. I felt it was like meeting a rock star. I'll be honest with you though, because I was like, I'm such a fanboy for Lamentations. I was like, so what's your favorite color? But I typically do tabletop stuff. I got a couple of reviews coming in of Lamentation products. I just gotta sit down and read, and that's always hard for me because I ended up just buying the Old School Essentials Advanced Player's Handbook, and I'm reading that, and then I'm also reading Troika stuff. So yeah, just join me for any tabletop stuff. I like to do interviews. It's kind of fun. And
hoping to do more roundtables like this coming up. I mean,
I would love.
Are difficult for me, but maybe one Friday a month.
Yeah, and I don't want to. I mean, I know my typical Friday nights involves Legion of Myth stuff. I kind of like a more level-headed approach sometimes.
So I have nothing but respect for those guys, but sometimes it's just too much.
Gotta take a step back and just talk games.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that's kind of my channel. And like and subscribe, and all these people.
Please, if you are watching this, visit Herb, visit Rasputin, and visit Chris over at Underlevel. Check out their channels, support them. This will be up, of course, on my channel, OG Gem Adventures, and you can all feel free to share it on your channel as well. Thank you, Chris, for being part of this experiment and for being part of the fact that the first 10 minutes we weren't actually on. I love the ideas you have. I mean, you have given me stuff to think about, of what it is Wizards of the, because I've been sort of thinking a different way, but you by telling me about Domains of Delight, I'm like, wow, maybe he's on to something. I mean,
it would make a lot of money. I don't see
up
pretty
to
close
now,
not
like
to
I
do
said,
it.
up to now, I hate to defend them, but up to now, everything they've done makes sense. They just did it really badly. But now maybe it's like they are actually maybe kind of finally going, oh, wait a minute. And if what Chris is saying is true, then that's brilliant. And I actually am totally rethinking it. So it's something I'm going to have to get deeper in. Maybe Rasputin and I can talk about it in a separate vlog when it's not so late. But thank you very much, everybody, for being part of this. I appreciate it. I definitely appreciate you, Chris, for reaching out. Herb, thanks for everything. Rasputin, as always, it's great to see you. We will do this again. If you want to see more stuff like this, let us know. If you never want to see us do this ever again, let us know. Subscribe to all our channels. And I'm going to end the broadcast here. But if you guys want us to stay out and still chat, that's welcome. I'll keep it live for a few more minutes. Thank you to the 12 people who listened to us talk for an hour. If you have any suggestions, of course, post them now. And I am your guide to all things tabletop role-playing game news, weather, sports, and general internet nonsense, the OGGM. See ya. And, of course, get off my land!
All right, everyone, I'm going to log